4 and district play is underway in the state of Texas. Tonight on Scoreboard Live, we'll show you which teams took care of business and which teams were left scratching their heads. We'll take you to all 5 corners of the Lone Star State in just 2 minutes. And our DQ Big Game of the Week tours the Alamo City. High School Scoreboard Live kicks off now. Game of the night, Saxey and Tyler Lee. It was all offense and all this guy. Have you ever heard of the Zach Hall of Fame? Well, he passed for 260, he ran for 260, and he accounted for 7 touchdowns. As Tyler Lee rolls and bounces back after that loss, they get it 62-49, the final there. Wow, 62 points, one of the highest scoring games of the night. And welcome into the fastest hour in all of sports. We call it Scoreboard Live, starring the guru, the most passionate man in high school sports. Craig Way, or your money back. I'm Rick Renner, his sidekick. Back-to-back weeks, we have a #1 going down as 4A's #1, Stephenville, goes down to Lubbock. Cooper kind of makes sense because today is Pirates Day.
Cooper just getting it started a little bit early there, Rick. Now, that's one major upset. That was the #1 team going down. How about the #2 team in the state in 5A? Cedar Park not only loses tonight to a Dripping Springs program that's trying to rebuild under Joe McBride, they're shut out as the Tigers win it 23-0 over the #2 ranked T-Wolves. 2 big stunners tonight near the top of their respective polls.
Joe McBride, a friend of the network and really a great guy and an awesome coach. That doesn't surprise us. Well, we start with Big D versus H-Town in what might be the only 2 teams in Class 6A that actually run the ball. 3-0, Euless Trinity against Galena Park North Shore, who is riding a 2-game losing streak for the first time in decades. But that's deceiving. You had the Manville and Spring Westfield on the non-district schedule. But either way, the Haka Dance is back, and it's in Galena Park in the Battle of Heavyweights. We pick it up in the 3rd quarter, game tied at 7, first play of the 2nd half, and Tyler Nady. Roland avoids the pressure, finds a wide-open Isaiah Runnels, who will Runnels that one all the way into the end zone. And the Trojans were in business. They lead it 14-7. Later in the 3rd, a bad snap, but Mustang Micaiah Long makes the recover, launches the ball downfield to Barnes, and it worked. It's a 15-13 lead. Trojans up now 22-15, and Darius Mouton. Oh, man, Mouton making it happen. The point after touchdown is blocked, but Trinity maintains the 1-point lead. And here's the dagger. Nady on the option, putting it away as the Trojans win it 29-21. Pretty impressive win for Trinity to go down there and win at Galena Park. Look at that Mustang record. You know that it doesn't really mean anything right now. They will be a playoff contender. Let's get some post-game reaction from the former Trinity fullback turned quarterback, 237-pound Tyler Nady.
Tyler Nady with the big touchdown run late in the game. First of all, that was a physical game out there, but talk about the importance of putting them away late with that touchdown.
Just the way how we play football, just always pound the rock. You know, we always focus on ball security, even though I had a little boo-boo earlier with a fumble, you know. You always got to keep pounding the rock, have 2 hands on the ball, man. I love these guys, man. They fight for me, and I fight for them, too.
Big win there, and that's one of those good intersectional battles. Here's an all-Greater Houston area matchup. Pearland, the state-ranked unbeaten Oilers, taking on Pasadena, and this is a mismatch right from the start. In the 1st quarter, Jake Blumrick to Jonathan Sam, the quick screen. Sam does the rest. Pearland on the board, up 7-0. Oilers again. Blumrick fumbled it, picked it up, then found Jacoby Butler. He'll go 75 yards this time up the sidelines. 14-0 for the Oilers. Pearland on a roll now. Then it's Ryan DeShoto who will go in for the touchdown. Around the corner, 21-0. Pearland 4-0. 6th-ranked team in the state wins it 69-0 over Pasadena. That's a huge margin of victory there for a very good Oiler team.
We move on with Allen, who rolled into Plano High on the road on Thursday night. That's right. And we know about Kyler Murray. He's one of the best in the state, looking to be the first major classification quarterback to make it a three-peat. Kyler Murray accounted for 377 yards and 4 touchdowns, including this 39-yard scamper in the second. They win easily 42-3. Notre Dame bound Jalen Guyton, 9 catches. catches, 178 yards. Allen is 4-0. Down in Waco at McLean Stadium, DeSoto prevailed over Cibolo Steel, thanks in part to the great run here and catch by Larry Nixon, 32 yards to pay dirt. Eagles prevailed 29-24. DeSoto loses their starting quarterback, but super sophomore Jalen Nelson is awesome, 341 yards and 4 touchdowns. What a great statement for DeSoto to win that one.
Yeah, they continue to get tested a little bit, and with Cibolo Steel, you know, DeSoto's had issues with his kicking game in the past, but in this case, it was Steel that had some issues, and as you look at the top 10, there it is with DeSoto capturing that win over Steel. Good intersectional matchups like Trinity, winning over North Shore, and we talked about that matchup of 2 and 4, DeSoto and Steel. South Lake Carroll is off this week. Next week, the Dragons will host undefeated Abilene. Hal Watson will be shooting for career win number 200 next week at Dragon Stadium. Manville at Dobie. You see Manville with an easy win over Pasadena Dobie, and Katy no trouble with Maid Creek.
Let's bring in our tag team partner, Corbett Smith of the Dallas Morning News, who's just been hanging out after his big show with David Newberry in the Dallas Morning News. Well, here's the big question for you, Corbett. If you're Claude Mathis of nationally ranked DeSoto, Tristan Wallace is back from the broken ankle come playoff time, and super sophomore stud Jalen Nelson has the Eagles unbeaten, what do you do at quarterback?
You put the older kid in. You've got to put Tristan Wallace back in that lineup. Jalen Nelson is going to be good for years to come. You might be able to utilize him in the slot. You might be able to utilize him with some sort of weird 2-quarterback package. He's a great running back, rushed for over 100 yards against Cibolo Steel. A very talented athlete. But I think that you want to go with the guy that you started the season with in Wallace. He's such a big, powerful runner. That was a problem in the second half against Steel. Steel started to kind of crowd the box a little bit, and DeSoto, for all their offensive prowess, did not score in the second half. They really struggled, putting drives together. Wallace is that type of game breaker with his size and kind of brute strength there offensively.
Speaking of offense in the second half, Cedar Hill certainly had it as they rumbled past. It was only a 26-20 halftime score in their ball game over Coppell. How about your thoughts on Aka Cedric Ware and the Longhorns getting their game back in gear after losing a week ago?
I thought this was going to be a real difficult matchup for them, at least early on, because Coppell is probably one of the biggest teams in the Metroplex. People think of Trinity as kind of that grinded-out team. Coppell's offensive line is as big as anyone's, and this was coming a week after playing a very athletic Skyline team, a very different style of play in those two games. And you just knew that Cedar Hill's speed would eventually take over. They've got so many playmakers. It showed in the second half, 21 unanswered points to blow a 6-point game, into a rout. They've got great players. Aka Cedric Ware, you've got DeMarcus Lodge, who decommitted from Texas A&M and is now kind of opening that up. Baylor and Oklahoma are in the mix. They've got Denver Daniels, a guy that they can run the ball with. He can come out of the slot. He'll be an FBS-type recruit. They just have too many skill players on offense against a team like Coppell who can't put up 61 points. They had a good offensive performance, 2 running backs over 100 yards, scored 34 points, but just not enough against a team like Cedar Hill.
Thanks, brother. That's Corbett Smith. Check out him in Sports Day HS at 11 as we simulcast his 1310 The Ticket radio show with David Newberry. Make sure you get the app Sports Day HS for all the DF Dub scores and stats. Let's take a timeout. We're just getting the party started here. Coming up next, a Class 4A showdown of the ages. Number 3 Argyle, number 4 Graham. Somebody's O must go. And much more as we travel around the state with all the highlights, including 5th-ranked Gilmer and a trip to the Golden Triangle.
High School Scoreboard Live is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer now for great deals during the Built Ford Tough Sales event. By DQ, the stop sign of Texas. For the best treats, eats, and drinks in Texas. Stop at DQ. And by State Farm. Visit texas.statefarm.com to get to a better state.
Okay. We roll on into Brazos Valley in the pit as Rogers Heritage of Arkansas travels to take on number 2 Navasota. How about it? Highlight here and a highlight reel from Darion Randall, who literally randles and rumbles for a 50-yard run straight up for the big touchdown there. Tough for the Arkansas kids. Then Randall again. hits the corner, and nobody's even going to touch him on this one. Another touchdown for Navasota. And then this time Randall will show off his catching skills. He does it all. And Navasota, how about it? They win it big, 49-10, the final. Hey, what a showdown in Class 4A. Number 3 Argyle, 4th ranked Graham, both are 3-0. Argyle is the defending state champ. They've won like 19 in a row, while the Steers have state title dreams of their own. And you got the beast, Argyle's Nick Ralston, who's unstoppable, and the quarterback sensation Landry Turner on the Steers side, a matchup of heavyweights in week number 4. And here's Ralston getting loose. He finds an opening for a 2-yard TD plunge. That made it 7-0. Then Ralston again. Check out his night. 46 carries, 194 yards, and 4 whopping touchdowns. This time 19 yards for the touchdown. Give me some more Nick. This time it's Nick Martin, my favorite Martin, 14 all. We got a ball game. Then it's more Nick. It's just the Nick show here. It's Nick at night. Martin again from 50 yards, and he will score through the blurry vision of television, and it's 20-14 Graham. But Argyle too much. Dane Ledford intercepts and gets a pick 6 here. Argyle wins it 28-20, Craig.
All right, you see the number 2, 3, and 4 ranked teams in Class 4A. We already know number 1, Stephenville, lost last night. What about the number 5 ranked team? That's those guys, the Gilmer Buckeyes, taking on formerly state-ranked Dangerfield. Bucks were up 7-0 in the pick 6. Colin Hurt put the hurt on the Tigers. They lead at 14-0. Second quarter, Gilmer now up 28-zip, and Baylor commitment Blake Lynch showing his running skills down the sidelines, then reverses field, 61 yards. Gilmer up 34-0. Look at that final. Gilmer beating Dangerfield.
Wow.
61-9.
Tough week for number 1 Stephenville, who went down. We talked about that upset. While Texas Tech-bound quarterback Jarrett Stidham performed in front of Cliff Kingsbury and Tech offensive coordinator Eric Morris in the house, that made him some people there a little nervous.
I'll tell you what, the more impressive quarterback in that game last night was Colton Ahlers and the job that he did for Cooper in that contest. Navasota poised to move into the number 1 spot. Argyle should be right there on their heels, and Gilmer right behind them as well. You see the one other surprise, Salina losing at Bishop Lynch 40-21. Otherwise, it will follow form in the top 10.
Craig, El Campo, those Ricebirds looking for their 13th consecutive win over Wharton and the Tigers in the 89th meeting of the Wharton County Rivals. We pick it up with Benjamin Baylor. He's not going to Baylor, but he'd like to with the short TD run, and that made it 7-3 in the first quarter. Then El Campo's Kevin Dove. And I'm telling you, this is one of the best running backs in the state that nobody knows about. We are in love with Dove as he takes it in for the score. That made it 10-7. Then El Campo's DJ Washington. Touchdown pass to Larry Haynes. That made it 17-7. Wharton wins the Battle of Wharton.
Shooting it from south of Houston across the south of San Antonio. Poteet's Aggies looking for the first win. Pleasanton unbeaten, so you can probably figure out how this one's going to go. Joshua Lopez is going 80 yards for the touchdown, and Pleasanton on top by a score of 14-0. Now in the second quarter, Eagles on the attack again. It's Doyle Lauderdale to Josh Lopez. Lopez had himself a decent first half. Another touchdown. Pleasanton goes on and gets the win, 46-6.
Let's take a break. Coming up next, we will take a look at some of the second-tier teams in the top 10 just outside. They're challenging to be the best in Texas. A huge one at Coppell between defending state champ Cedar Hill, who's looking to bounce back after the upset, and taking it out on the Cowboys. You're watching Scoreboard Live.
Back to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Cedar Hill, your defending state champions of 5A Division II, coming off that loss a week ago to Skyline, taking on the Coppell Cowboys. It's 20-20 late first half, and Aka Cedric Ware up the middle for the score. Missed extra point. It's 26-20 Horns at the half. Third quarter, Justin McMillan on the fake finds downfield of Denver Daniels. In for the score. Cedar Hill leads 32-20. Now in the fourth quarter, back comes Coppell. How about this one? Nice move there. It's Aka Cedric Ware coming back. 38-yard touchdown run, and there's your final 61-34. Now Cedar Hill, even though they are a defending state champion, had dropped out of the top 10 with its loss a week ago to Skyline. So the Longhorns had found themselves out of the top 10, but one of those teams right on the cusp of getting in the top 10. We take a look at several teams that are kind of knocking at the door, looking to move into the top 10. One of those schools in the greater Austin area, the Westlake Chaparrals. Westlake had a big win earlier, now taking on the Austin High Maroons. And Sam Ellinger finding Chase Coakley 60 yards for the touchdown. Takes that one in. Chaps off and going. Kanan Clark Bateman in for the touchdown. And things just not going right for the Maroons, as on the ensuing kickoff for Austin High, the return is fumble. Just popped right into the waiting arms. Sam Ellinger keeps it, then for the score, takes it in. Westlake wins big, 63-12 over Austin High.
What a bunch of Maroons. In San Antonio, the Brennan Bears looking to go 4-0 against Converse Judson, a team in danger of starting 1-3. We pick it up with Deshaun Key on the keeper. Key showing you the kind of athlete he is. He can do it all. Moments later, fullback sensation Alex Hill makes it like he's running downhill, and the Rockets are not going to bring him down. Brennan would go on to win big, 39-14. In H-Town, who the heck is Richmond Foster and those Falcons? Well, they're unbeaten and looking to serve Fort Bend Marshall their first loss. Trevor Parker throwing, intercepted by Isaiah Adams of the Adams family. He goes all the way back for the pick six. Nice blocking. Wow. He gets into the end zone, and just like that, 7-0 Marshall. Second quarter now, Parker rolling, finding Brandon Taylor in the end zone. Then later in the second, Parker fakes the handoff, keeps it, gets into the end zone. It's 17-7 Foster. Still second quarter. This time Parker does the handoff. Quantonio Williams runs right up the middle for 40 yards, and Foster wins it 43-14.
Amarillo High, another one of those schools trying to break through into the top 10, taking on Odessa High, and the Sandies ready to capitalize on the punt return early on, except Chris Lopez loses it. Broncos recover. So Odessa with the football, but can't get anything going. Later, the pass down the middle, intercepted by Amarillo High. Sean Garcia picked off by Logan Floyd 2 plays later. Anthony Geiger, 7-yard touchdown run. Golden Sandstorms with a shutout of Odessa High, 27-0.
So with the teams we just looked at, who do you think breaks into the top 10?
Well, out of I guess it's close. You could say you can make a case for 2 or 3 of those. Cedar Hill's probably going to get a case to move back into the top 10, since they did lose to a top 10 team in Skyline, and they look pretty impressive. But again, Todd Dodge quietly getting Westlake up and going there in the San Antonio area.
Got a big one with Lake Travis down the line. Can't wait to see what happens. By the way, that is a DQ big game of the week. Break time on Scoreboard Live. Coming up next, we've got the Ford watch list. Booker High, who's breaking more records than Ariana Grande. Plus, George Ranch, in just their 3rd year of varsity, a serious threat to make it all the way to AT&T Stadium and the state finals. We're keeping an eye on. Hunter Lyle is hunting for his second Ford honor. West Mesquite's Chason Virgil is Mississippi State bound. Lubbock Monterey's Vincent Johnson is a superstar in the making, says one Randy Rogers. Brandon Stevens is one of the best juniors in the state. And keep an eye on Michael Irvin Jr. Yeah, that one. He's a little bigger than his daddy at 6'2", 220, but he's got the talent, he's got the hands to be just like the old number 88. Make sure you vote for your favorite player at playeroftheweek.com based on performances on and off the field. Break up the Booker High Kiowas. They're unbeaten and feature the state's all-time reception king in Jared Reagan. His quarterback is Hunter Lyle, who's a former Built Ford Tough Player of the Week winner. Lyle's style is on pace to break Travis Quintanilla's all-time passing record set last year. And by the way, they're cousins. Hey, everybody in that small town is related, and they're related to record-breaking stuff. Hunter Lyle and Jared Reagan would play blockers on this pick six by Israel Silva, and he will work his way all the way down the field. Look at this beautiful pickoff. And you'll see Lyle and Reagan, they do it both ways. And yeah, they get it done. Kiowas getting it done. Booker, 4-0. They shut out Wellington and the Skyrockets 34-0.
Mart with an impressive win over Thorndale. And this was a big matchup there. Tenneha and White Oak. Tenneha playing a team in a higher classification, beating White Oak, which had popped into the top 10 in Class 3A, and you move it on down. The other big impressive victory tonight, Mason on the road at Goldthwaite, winning big. The Punchers punched through for a 48-6 victory. Centerville is now 2-2 after being knocked off on the road by Troy.
Hey, a couple scores we would have mentioned. Rising Power George Ranch all over the superstar athletes of Corey Delphine and Port Arthur Memorial tonight. Look at this, 42-32. Those Longhorns, they're 3-1. Varsity football started at their school in 2012. They got to the state quarterfinals last year, maybe the state title game this year. Let's bring in the ears, eyes, face, and toes of the greater Houston area. Ahmad Vital of Scout.com. Ahmad, can we just pencil in George Ranch for the state championship game right now?
Well, Rick, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I tell you what, there's no doubt about it that I've taken far too long to see this Ricky Tullis-led team. These guys came out, and it just seemed like from start to finish, those guys, it seemed like they just wanted it just a little bit more. I mean, you know, we knew about Dauphine. We knew about, you know, Cameron Martin. But I tell you what, Xavier Marks and Darius Anderson, those guys were out there just making it happen tonight. I mean, and they had the same kind of combination that Dauphine and Martin have in that Anderson was really pounding it away. He ended up with 220 yards tonight. Xavier Marks found the end zone a couple times himself. That is an impressive set of backs over there, and then the defense stepped up when it needed to and made the plays to be able to shut down Port Arthur.
Ahmad, I want to jump to Class 5A for a moment and get your thoughts on North Shore. Now, North Shore lost to a really good Euless Trinity team tonight. They're number 3 in the state, so and no disgrace in losing. It was a 29-21 ball game. However, it does bear repeating and mentioning that they are 1-3 and lost those 3 games for the first time since 1997. Is there any reason for concern down there for fans of the Mustangs?
Wow, Craig, you just said 1997, and I just flashed back because that was the year I got my diploma. So I know that was a long time ago. You know, it's really weird. I watched North Shore play last week against Westfield, and it seems like they're able to make the plays and be able to move the ball, but it just, for whatever reason, getting inside of the red zone, it's just like they weren't able to just finish, you know, on both sides of the ball. It's really weird seeing that from a North Shore-led team to be able to do that. I wouldn't say it's time for panic. Let's give it a couple more games in the district. You know that there's a new coach out there. Of course, he's been part of the system for a long time, but we've always known Amon to be part of the program. New things are probably going on over there. I'm sure they have somewhat of the same philosophy, but let's see how things go forward because they have the athletes to be able to get things done. It still is North Shore. They still play with the same amount of toughness. It's just something is just not quite clicking all the way through like we're used to from North Shore. And we're just so used to seeing North Shore winning that when perhaps they end up 1-3, we're all like raising our eyebrows, like wondering what's really going on. But I think you'll see the Mustangs turn around. But right now they're just kind of in a little bit of a transition from what it looks like from my standpoint.
Yeah, and that's been a tough non-district schedule. Thanks, Ahmad. Check out his fine work at Scout.com. He's also a best-selling author, and word is he may do a book on Craig Way in the future. The hard part is finding any dirt on this guy. Let's take a time out on the show. Coming up next, Randy Rogers will tell us about the top receivers in the state, and we'll travel all over the place. East Texas, Wichita Falls, El Paso, the Valley, and the Brazos River. Don't go anywhere.
Well, we're talking about receivers this week, but there's really 2 kinds of receivers: the big, tall, outside vertical stretch guy, and then the smaller guy, or the slot guy, the Wes Welker type guy that's made a living moving in and out of breaks on the inside. If you like outside receivers, you should have been at the Cedar Hill Dallas Skyline game last week. 2 of the best: DeMarcus Lodge from Cedar Hill, who most of us saw extensively in the state championship game a year ago, and Carlos Strickland from Dallas Skyline. Both of these guys 6'4 plus. Great speed, outstanding ball skills, body control, everything you want if you want to run corners down the field and occupy those safeties. The slot guy is Ryan, that I really like, is Ryan Newsom from Aledo. You saw him last year in a state championship game. Also very, very dangerous as a punt return, kick return guy. He's a guy that impacts the game because defenses want to keep the ball away from him in the kicking game. So there's a 3. Good luck. Get out and see some of these kids play. We've got 7 more weeks of the regular season.
Thanks, Randy. Another receiver he really likes in the junior class, Devin Duvernay, who has 27 D1 offers right now. He's a stud from Garland Saxe. Tonight, 170 receiving yards. And by the way, he'd probably have more offers, but so many other schools are like, well, if Oregon and Alabama and everybody wants this kid, we can't get on that train. So pretty amazing. He's only a junior. Time now to attempt a first on Scoreboard Live. We're going to go to every single corner of the state in a quicker time than it takes you to go from Austin to Dallas. And that is saying something. All right, let's go to Wichita Falls, Bridgeport. And Burke Burnett, hold on to your seatbelt. We pick it up in the first quarter. Bridgeport up 7-0. When the Bulldogs' Ryan Lewis goes to the air. Ryzen Hendricks with the beautiful catch in the end zone. 2-point conversion good. 8-7 Bulldogs. Woof, woof. Then on the 4th and 7, Grayson Mathis is stopped by the Bulldogs' Michael Brookings short of the first down. And that would lead to this. In 3rd and 3, Lewis going to the air again to Brandon Ingram. Bulldogs up. And guess what? Bridgeport comes back to win it 34-29.
Only 350 miles separate El Paso and Midland. But Midland Lee on the road to take on El Dorado, and then in for the touchdown, Terry Sims in for the Rebels. Then there's a bad snap for El Dorado. Midland Lee's Blake Blessey falls on it in the end zone, but El Dorado would turn this game around. Sergio Gonzalez will take this one in for the score. Long road trip and a disappointing end for the Rebels, who fall to El Dorado 51-44. So from far west Texas, we go down to the Brazos Valley region. The Cougars of College Station playing host to Elgin. Elgin Wildcats, picked to be one of the better teams around, but off to a disappointing start at 1-2. No disappointment there. Kyle Snell to Jordan Smith for the touchdown. Then Quintarian White by handoff, rumbling right up the middle. A shootout tonight, and College Station High, the Cougars, go on to get the win in this one over Elgin, 51-34.
To East Texas. That's quick. Kilgore and winless Texas High at Tiger Field. Cade Pearson passing to Mondre Cooper for the big game. And then the next play, Pearson will look for Jacorian Walker, who walks right in for the touchdown. A big score. That's the thing about Texas High this year. They always get up early. 7-0. Then Taekwon Nard down the right sideline here, and that would set the table for this. Cornelius Zachary. Texas High would hold on to win it in triple overtime, 19-13. They like OT this year. Let's take a break. Coming up next, it's off to the Alamo City for the DQ Big Game of the Week. Smithson Valley and Madison. The Mavs coached by a guy who used to coach Johnny football. Would it be a shootout? Plus, we'll travel up and down Interstate 35 in a flash. Let's now hop on I-35 to Flower Mound for McKinney Boyd. A good one tonight. Great crowd for this one in the DF Dub. It's Boyd who gets the scoring started. Brandon Bowling can go bowling for dollars with that run. 6-0. They missed the extra point. McKinney in charge. But then the junior, Diedrich Scrivens, he'll make it 13-0. Seemed pretty easy for them. How about a little more Scrivens? He was like a warm knife through butter tonight. The Broncos were up big, 34-0. They win 46-6.
So now, south from Dallas, we go down to the Super Centex region to Hewitt. That's just south of Waco, where those Midway Panthers will play host to the Duncanville Panthers. Battle of Panthers, and it's Duncanville getting on the board. Roosevelt Richmond ends up going the opposite direction for the touchdown, but then Midway gets going. It's Eric Claiborne who will barrel through the middle. There's the long touchdown pass. That one in for the score. Strickland taking it in, and more. Claiborne 20 yards on the touchdown run. Midway jumped up big. Duncanville made a run, but Midway holds on for the 42-36 victory.
Todd Dodge's old school, Marble Falls, has a stud quarterback up against Vista Ridge tonight. We pick it up in the third, and something you don't see every day. Check out where the kickoff is from. Then Matthew Snow will connect afterwards with Jamil Pittman on the slants. He'll get into the end zone, faking out the defenders, and falls down at the 10-yard line. Again, it's Snow. Hey, let it snow in September. It's time to get it done on the quarterback keeper. Vista Ridge goes on to win it big. 49-21 the final there.
And down to the San Antonio region, Alamo Heights, the Mules taking on Bernie Champion. Champion at 3-0, trying to go to 4-0. Touchdown pass, Dalton Banks. And a touchdown pass in the corner there for a high-scoring shootout match. Champion with the answer throughout the course of the night as they win over Alamo Heights by a 56-31 count.
And we take a look at the top 10 and how they fared in Class 5A. A lot of idle teams because they're getting ready for district play next week.
They are. That big stunner, number 2 Cedar Park falling at Dripping Springs. What a wild race 25-4A or 25-5A can turn out to be. You just saw Vista Ridge in there. You have Cedar Park. You have Georgetown, who's number 4 in the state. They win. That crazy shootout tonight between Vandegrift and Eastview. More on that coming up a little later on in the program. That's all in one district, and they just started district play tonight.
How about that win for Joe McBride, who comes over from Coppell because his wife, wanted to move to the area for her job. He left a great program at Coppell that he built up, won 50 games in the last 5 years. Nobody thought he could do anything at Dripping Springs, and here he is. He takes down Cedar Park.
It's a signature win for him in a district that we've been telling you about that has all kinds of topsy-turvy potential. Now Cedar Park loses, so they drop a district game. You just saw the highlights of Vista Ridge. You saw the 1 touchdown run from Jamil Pittman. He's a freshman,
Wow.
Rick. You don't see that varsity very often. A freshman that scored on the touchdown run for Rodney Vincent's ball club. They're 4-0. They get Eastview next week. Eastview coming off that thriller against Vandegrift. And like we said, a little more on that a little later on. That is a wild, crazy, fun district.
Most competitive district in the state, don't you think?
You got Cedar Park against Georgetown next week. You'll have Vista Ridge against Eastview. It's going to be really nutty.
Wow. Break time. Coming up next, Coastal Bend and the DQ Big Game of the Week at the home of the NBA World Champs. After this short time.
We're taking on Class 3A in the top 10. Number 1 team in the state, defending state champion Cisco, had an evening off getting ready for District 8. Look at Franklin getting pushed by Marlin, but they do win. Wall and Lago figured that'd be a good matchup. The Hawks are now 3-1. They played a tough non-district schedule. Teague has been impressive this year, even though Caldwell had played them tough for a time. Malakoff, keep an eye on that team down by Cedar Creek Lake.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good ball club. And we mentioned White Oak getting knocked off by Tenaha, of course, ranked in the top 10 in 2A. We move on down along the Texas Gulf Coast and along the Coastal Bend. It's Rockport. Rockport Fulton taking on Ingleside. Pick things up in the first quarter scoreless. Anthony Resendez bouncing outside. It started off as a sneak. Nothing sneaky about this. 58 yards and a touchdown. Pirates lead 7-0. 7-7 second quarter. Jalen Gross on 4th and 1. He'll go to the house. Mustangs up 13-7 after the missed extra point. Late second quarter, Ingleside now down 21-13. Gross to the air. Dylan Farrell with the hands. The catch makes it 21-19. Ingleside wins it by a point.
Good one with Vernon and Wichita Falls Hershey. Pick it up in the third quarter. Vernon's Isaiah Love having a huge day. He'll go 58 yards here. He had 239 yards rushing a week after going for 392. This guy's good for 200 every time he goes out. Lions in control. Here, Brandon Leja keeps the ball for the touchdown. Point after touchdown is good. Lions just roll in this one, 34-6 at the point, and they go on to win it 47-12. There's that touchdown by the quarterback on the keeper. He's tough.
Back down to the Alamo City we go, and it's Wagner taking on John Marshall. Marshall's down 28-7, but the Rams trying to get things going, and Trey Scallion in for the touchdown. Cuts the deficit now to 28-14, but Wagner has a back who can bring it to. Watch Eric Tillman on this one. How many guys have a shot to bring him down? He just drags practically the entire team. Tillman and the Rams later on cash it in for the score. They win it 34-14 over Marshall.
Hey, forget Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey. This is the greatest road show on earth. In the first year of existence, the Fox Sports Southwest High School Express has made quite a journey in the state of Texas for the DQ Big Game of the Week. In Austin, it started in Stephenville. Then it was west of the Metroplex all the way to a run for the border in Arkansas for Texas High and Arkansas High, one of your favorites. And then some 800-plus miles to El Paso, and then back east to the Alamo City and the home of the NBA champs. That's more travel than you do in 1 week, Craig.
You know, that's a good little road swing there.
Here's Neil Beasley right after he woke up from that long trip on the High School Express.
DQ, Dairy Queen, DQ, let's go.
Oh, a lot of great football tradition here in the Alamo City in San Antonio, and a lot of that tradition starts right here with the Madison Mavericks.
Madison Mavericks.
Great tradition. A lot of that, though, was under former legendary coach Jim Streety. There's a new sheriff in town, Mark Smith, looking to make his own magic up against Smithson Valley. They've got a lot of great tradition as well. 3 times in the state championship game since the year 2000 under another legendary coach, Larry Hill. So it should be a great game. Perfect setting as district play starts next week. It's Madison, it's Smithson Valley, and it's big enough to be our
DU Big Game of the Week!
Okay, Cowboys fans, it's game time at the Built Ford.
All right, you want more out of that wacky District 25 5A? Georgetown, Eastview taking on those Vandegrift Vipers. Vandegrift's Travis Brennan making some nice cuts, and he'll get this one into the end zone, touchdown for the Vipers. However, ensuing kickoff, it's Eastview's Adrian Contreras who brings it back the distance. Nice response by the Patriots. Later on, after this one goes the distance, it's James Hudson who will hook up with Travis Brandon, scores his second touchdown tonight. Vandegrift was up 14 points in this game. But look at the final.
Whoa.
Eastview wins it 42-41. Next week, undefeated Eastview against undefeated Vista Ridge. And as I mentioned, Cedar Park plays Georgetown next week.
Can't wait for that one in El Paso. Canutillo taking on Chapin. Canutillo was DQ Big Game of the Week winner last week. And Andrew Alacarn getting it done inside the 5 here. And then AA will do it again. That made it 14-0, and the Eagles would hold on with some great defense. They pitched the shutout, 17-0 in the final. Well, this week's stop for the DQ Big Game of the Week, the Alamo City, and an interesting traditional showdown between Smithson Valley and the Madison Mavs. SV is led by legendary head coach Larry Smith, who's led the Rangers to the playoffs in 17 of his last 18 seasons. Coach of the decade in the San Antonio Express-News, which is impossible with Greg Popovich around. While Madison lost their legendary coach for a guy who used to coach Johnny Football. Here's the Beezer with the Emmy Award-winning and nominated again DQ Big Game of the Week.
Hey, we're in the Alamo City, and we are at the home of the Rangers. In fact, in 2013, Newsweek magazine put Smithson Valley High School on its list of America's best high schools. Hey, it's easy to see why. The Rangers got the swagger. A big 6A school, but everybody feeling Ranger pride.
L-E-T-S-T-O, let's go Rangers!
80% student involvement in some kind of school activity.
Fox Sports Southwest is here in the house. Give it up for Fox Sports Southwest.
And sports is no exception. Strong athletics. 3 state softball titles, including the 2012 SHIP. Football, a beautiful on-campus stadium, and plenty of tradition as well. 3 state title game appearances, and by districts in the playoffs, 18 of the last 21 years. Wow. But they don't bridle the enthusiasm at San Antonio Madison High School either. Mavericks running wild all over campus. The Agro-Science Magnet program offers up the largest FFA group in Texas. Football boys 41-17-1 over the last few years, piling up plenty of hardware as well. This game of San Antonio Powers to be played in their stadium named for a San Antonio Power. Jerry Kamalander, 42 years with the district. The 1957 Dilley High School valedictorian, known around Texas for directing Churchill. 125 wins, 28 losses, and 3 ties, and the 1976 state title.
Find you a great head coach that can mentor you and teach you all about this business, and then surround yourself with good people, and it's easy from there.
Coach Larry Hill on the Mount Rushmore of Smithson Valley coaches. 21 years at the helm, just 18 losses in the last 17 years. San Antonio, coach of the decade in the aughts. Just 2-2 this year, but lost to top 20 Brennan, and they've beaten top 20 Brandeis. 1, 2, 3, right away! All of Madison's success came under another legend, Jim Streety. But Johnny Football's high school coach Mark Smith running the Mavericks now. 4-year starter Marcus McNeil, all 300 pounds of him, committed to the SMU Ponies. Stud running back Dominique Daniels, though, will not play. He's out with concussion symptoms. So if the Mavericks don't want to get saddled with another loss, they know they'll need to pony up. time to kick things off, but only one team will remember the Alamo as a W tonight.
The Madison Mavericks are what we're about. Play hard, play fast, and get after it. Amen!
Madison starts with the ball and ends in the zone. It's 4th and 1, but sophomore Nate Davis bottled up or net. Keeps, jukes, he on 35 yards, 7-0 home team. Smithson ties it up, then 13-play drive, but it's 4th and 16. Forget about it.
Rolling near side, looking, firing into the corner of the end zone. Man is there, catch is made, touchdown, Smithson Valley. Derek Hausler.
Hausler, the brother of Arizona Cardinals tight end Rob Hausler, hauls it in on 4th and 16. 13-7, Rangers now up. Valley again. First play after a Madison punt. Sophomore quarterback Josh Adkins goes up top. Sherrill Walter with sure hands. 67 yards and on into the zone. 20-7. That's 20 unanswered for Smithson Valley. The Power Rangers looking good. Madison needs something. Senior DJ Smith looking for his favorite target, Devon Thomas. It's 20-14. One-score game at the break. Second half, nobody doing nothing until Cord Given rumbling 21 yards. Not into the zone, but it sets up 3. 23-14. Under a minute to go. Go ahead, head out to your car. Wait, Smith, the Hail Mary-ish is answered. Thomas again, 23-20. Remember, kids, you never leave a game early. Mavericks need the onside kick. It's up. Oh, a great hop. No, it's out of bounds. Ball game. 23-20 is your final. Smithson Valley the win. A nice win to wrap up non-district play.
It was just important that we had to win it to keep our motivation up to start for district. We just had to keep our heads up and go to the next play.
We came off a little rough start, but we're getting back where we need to be, and feels a little better going into district.
The tradition coming back.
Yes, sir.
We're really meshing right now, and we're gelling as a team, and we're doing great right now, so we're just going to keep it going.
We've played a lot of times for district championships. We've played for regional championships 3 different times, and now the last 3 years in non-district play. And it always seems to be like this, no matter what's at stake.
Well, with district play starting next week, this game didn't mean anything except yet another Ranger win! For photographer Jack Rowan and producer Clark Rowe, I'm Neil Beasley with your DQ. Big game of the week.
Thanks, Beezer. Always enjoy it. Coming up next, the play of the night. We have so many choices. How do we choose? Find out next on Fox Sports Southwest.
It's brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer now for great deals during the Built Ford Tough Sales event. By DQ, the stop sign of Texas. For the best treats, eats, and drinks in Texas. Stop at DQ. And by State Farm. Visit texas.statefarm.com to get to a better state.
Aaron Hardigan here with you on Scoreboard Live and with the coach, Ken Purcell, looking ahead quickly to district action next week. We have Euless, Trinity, Colleyville, Heritage, Denton, Guyer, Keller, Cedar Park, Georgetown. Quickly, coach, who rolls and who tumbles?
Trinity rolls, Guyer rolls, and the other one's a dead heat.
Ooh, I like that. You heard it here first. For now, back to Rick and Craig with more Scoreboard Live.
Love the Cat in the Hat in the DF Dub. Frisco into Colony. Cougars receiving the punt, and junior Austin Myers makes a beeline for the sideline. Check this out as he spins to break a tackle, and oh, he is gone. 58 whopping yards to pay dirt. A big play for the Colony, but Frisco wins the game 13-7.
Down to the state's smallest classification, Class A Division II. Of course, we're talking 6-man football. Chillicothe taking on Wichita Falls Christian. In for the score is Denzel Graves, a 16-yard touchdown run, and Chillicothe had it going their way. They win it 48-0.
Play of the night in H-Town, the Woodlands, who upset Katy last week. Back in the news, superstar running back Patrick Carr goes over the 4,000-yard career rushing mark. 6-7 carries, 137 yards, 3 touchdowns. And the girls will like this. At halftime, he was named Homecoming King. He had only 1 carry in the second half because it was too difficult to play with the crown on top of his helmet.
Yeah, it'd be difficult to do that. So, in other words, right there, we just went from 6-man to 6A again.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how we do that stuff. And by the way, our top story, how crazy is 25-5A?
It's going to be a lot of fun next week when you see what will happen in 25-5A. You just heard the coach, Ken Purcell, talking about it with Aaron, with Georgetown playing Cedar Park. But don't forget, next week also you'll have Eastview in action against Vista Ridge. Both of those teams are undefeated. Vandegrift is right in the thick of the fight. And all of a sudden, Dripping Springs is 1-0 in the district because they beat number 2 Cedar Park tonight.
Joe McBride, and the guy can coach. I mean, he's a good friend of our network, going back to his days at Coppell, but what a great win. Signature win for him tonight.
It was, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this district and several others as it all goes headlong in the district play continuing next week.
Thanks so much for watching. For the guru, Craig Way, I'm Rico. We will see you next week, straight up at midnight on Scoreboard Live. Enjoy your football weekend.